What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to The Art of War. Super excited to be here as we are going to be talking about the impact of the brand new Drukhari Codex, which is, I believe, fully releasing this weekend. But if you haven't checked it out, we did a Codex review on the channel. We did a tier list that came out last week, which went through all the different data sheets. That was with Scary and I. And then we're going to have some games as well. We had several games with Scary. He was playing against Emperor's Children. He played against my Dwarves last week with the Votan. So there's a lot of Drukhari content if you're excited about it.
Yeah, if you want to get the Archon Scar, you can go ahead and check out our channel and also the Warhammer.vhx.tv.
100%. Yeah, that's the best way to check out all the games that Scary played with us and also access those post-game analysis videos where once you are testing an idea for the first time, you're always going to have, okay, here's what I could have done better in the game itself, and here's what I'm going to change about the list. And there's a lot of things that change early on when you first test out a Codex.
Absolutely.
So we're going to kind of take all that knowledge in and work through it. But if you are joining us, please do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends about us. All of that massively helps us grow. And where I think is best to start out for this one is to kind of look at the meta as a whole right now. We just had two massive events. We had LGT in the UK, and then we had LVO in Vegas. That was last weekend. Jack was there commentating with War Games Live, Joe and the excellent team there. And had direct experience of this meta.
Yep, still recovering from the jet lag, actually.
100%.
Especially after Challengers Cup the weekend before.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting, very wide open meta, honestly. You saw no repeats in the top 8. You saw some repeats in the top 16, but they didn't make it in. But no repeats in the top 8, which is a very good sign. I would still say that we have some top dogs, right? I think the top 3, in no particular order, are Admech, Eldar, and probably Ravengard. Ravengard have some pretty gross rules, but we're still kind of waiting for them to put up like serious results, although John won Crucible with it.
Yeah. One of the things is there's a question mark of whether the +1 to wound is going to be active or not. Now, I obviously believe that Ravengard is a Space Marine detachment. I think it's
Yeah, well,
silly.
so is Blood Angels, man.
Yeah, so I think they will eventually get it. However, Games Workshop has not updated that FAQ as of yet, and so a lot of events are ruling you can't actually use the +1 to wound, which means that army isn't quite as strong as some other options.
No, but it's still pretty good, honestly.
Still good.
Even though it doesn't have the +1 wound. So those are my thoughts for like the 3 best armies right now. And then below that, you have a lot of different armies. I mean, we saw LVO was won by Horde Guard.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Very counter meta.
Very counter meta, and also the thing he, Wesley knew the best, right? It's his list, it's what he plays. And then LGT was also won by CSM, right? It was won by, what's the detachment?
Veterans of the Long War.
Right. It's the thing that, Liam BSL knows the best and plays the best. So that should tell you that's where kind of the meta's at right now, is you can take whatever you are personally strongest with and do well in an event if you play well.
Absolutely. And honestly, Drukhari is actually a perfect example of this, because even though the Codex itself hasn't been active live in the tournament scene just yet, the app updated yesterday. So I believe, once again, it releases this Saturday and then will be out in the wilds for future events. But with the kind of pre-Codex era, Drukhari has actually been making moves here. We have Scary doing really, really well.
Yep.
He was at the top tables at LVO. And then LGT, we had Sako make the finals. He played against Liam's Chaos Space Marines, and he took out a lot of really strong players with his Drukhari. And both of them are playing Reaper's Wager.
Yep.
And Reaper's Wager is not a Codex detachment. That is from Grotmus. However, it still is seemingly the one that buffs the most different data sheets. You can basically run any. It's one of those great detachments where you can basically run any data sheet, and it just gets better in the detachment. You don't have to pick from a narrow sliver of things like some of the Codex detachments force you to do to get the benefits of the rules. And so these players are taking a very control-style army, a lot of objective contesting tools, a lot of trade pieces, just a lot of units in general, a lot of scoring pieces, and then supplementing that with a handful of damage units. That style is a lot more viable now, the trading style, the slower pace style, the 5-turn game style, because the stat checks that were dominating the meta August and before are not quite as potent as they were.
Are you talking about Knights, Chaos Knights, and Death Guard?
Yes, I'm talking exactly about those 3 that were utterly dominant, and they would force you to have to interact with the vast majority of your army in a single turn. Otherwise, not only do you lose board position, and thus the scoring of the game, but you also just die back in return because you couldn't realistically, most armies couldn't do enough consistent damage to them.
Yeah, it seems like Drukhari has a lot of ways to hit without getting hit back, which is very important. That army is incredibly fragile. We did have Ben Jurek's Chaos Knights versus Skari's Drukhari on stream at LVO, and there was not a single time that the Chaos Knights activated into a unit of Drukhari and that unit of Drukhari lived. Ever. That never happened. Not a single time in the game. It was still very close, but you need to find ways to hit without getting hit back in Drukhari, otherwise you're going to evaporate.
Yeah, and there's a variety of different styles. So Reaper's Wager, I think, will still continue be the most popular way because, like I said, you can just take any data sheet and do well with it. But outside of that, I think there's some interesting styles coming in with the Codex. The Spectacle of Spite detachment stands out to me in it's very Witch Cult dependent, but the Witch Cult units got huge glow-ups on their data sheets. Helions are significantly better, as well as the Reaver Jet Bikes. Excellent. On top of that, Lilith and her witches are still fantastic, and you get second access to a second fight first with an enhancement. You get access to another succubus that actually does damage, unlike the normal one. And you have some very, very janky stratagems, in particular 2 CP. If your opponent has ended a move within 9 of you, in their movement phase, you can decide to charge them. That is extremely difficult for armies to play around, and that's what Drukhari is looking for. They're looking for ways to keep their opponent pinned back so that the Drukhari player is taking the initiative. They're the ones who are dictating the pace of the game. They're the ones deciding where the battle's going to happen. As soon as Drukhari are leading the pace of the game and kind of dictating how it's going, they're in a really advantageous spot. Between that stratagem, the ability to pop out of a Venom, kill something on an objective, and then at the end of the fight phase, get back in the Venom behind a wall. There's a lot of ways to keep your units alive. You know, you have Scourges still with their heavy weapons being able to fire and fade. If Drukhari keeps their units alive for multiple turns, it doesn't matter if they're paper thin at the end of the game. They're
still alive.
They're still alive. They still have these key things. They don't have quite as much access to fight first as previously. You can run the Solitaire in the Reaper's Wager detachment.
It's pretty good in Reaper's Wager with one's hit and wound.
Pretty damn good there. But you don't have the Court of the Archon unit. And then a couple other tricks that some of the index styles were using at LGT and LVO were like Urian being able to stand back up. That's a great resource to force people out onto objectives close to you, as well as the Beastmaster pack and that early kind of pressure on your opponent to pin them back. But they gained new tools. I honestly think Reaver Jet Bikes are just as good, if not better, than the Beast pack. Their ability to simply flat 8 advance and move 22 inches and potentially farther in some of the other detachments.
And they can still charge, right?
In Reaper's Wager, you can advance, shoot, and charge with the stratagem. You can also do it in, I believe, another detachment as well. So like they can come up, fire some heat lances into you, maybe do some flyover mortals, and then charge into you. They gain a lance on their combat. They can get extra AP on the Grav Talon models. Those units do a lot more than previously, and they don't have the downside of giving up Assassinate for the character like the Beastmaster pack did. Obviously, they don't get the scout move and the instant pressure that it is, and they had a couple less models. But still, I think Drukhari have similar enough tools that it's effectively going to be still one of the best trading armies in the game.
Yeah, it's unfortunate though that Urian unfortunately rolled a 1 on standing back up after GW killed him. Yeah, he is gone. That was an interesting tool. Scar used him often as like the early party starter.
Too. He was ludicrously durable.
Yep. But being able to like have several transports full of either melee units or shooting units, and then have Scourges, and you can get all of those out, shoot, and then get all of them back either in transports or behind walls, is very, very strong. Couple that with some powerful fight first. Couple that with some powerful melee units that don't have fight first, right? When I played Skari, this was on his channel. This was actually something he recorded. But when I was fighting him, man, those Archons running around with, rerolls, hits, and wounds, and just coming in there with a baseball bat going with like 6 attacks at strength 5, AP 2, damage 3, dev wounds was like not pleasant. I will say.
They are nasty.
Yeah, they're pretty nasty. Lady Malice is really cool. So you have a lot of tools that you can work with there. Like honestly, I didn't think the Codex was very good when I first read it. But it just kind of worked when Skari played it. Like the army just like gelled. It just worked. And I was like, oh, well, that's good. That's neat. That's a well-written book right there.
Yeah, I honestly think some of the data sheets are absolutely incredible. Like Mandrakes, for instance. They have Infiltrate. They have Stealth. You can redeploy them with Malice now. They can go back into reserve if you spend the pain token point. They're 18-inch lone ops always, so you can have them out on like.
They're 18-inch lone ops always.
Always, yep.
Yeah, my world leaders didn't find that out.
Didn't find that out, but like against a lot of armies, like on layout 1, when you want to stage on that bottom angle, normally it's like, oh, I could get shot down here by this thing. Yeah, all right, maybe I'll play a little more defensive. You're like, no, Mandrake's just out here.
And they shoot.
They gained AP. They have the dev wounds now on both profiles. Like I mentioned, the Reaver jet bikes are significantly upgraded. The Helions as well. Talos is something that I've personally been really enjoying playing. I know that like each player has some kind of different favorite units. Sako, for instance, really prefers that Harlequin brick with the Shadow Seer and running the Solitaire, so he likes those Harlequin allies. I really like Talos. I think they're fantastic in the non-real space raid detachments because that's where they gain access to, or they really provide the ability to gain extra pain tokens quickly if you need to, because each time they kill a unit, Drukhari are really good at chipping wounds off of things to set it up for you to kill something with the Talos. When they kill those, you get extra pain tokens off of that. So you can all of a sudden rack up a lot and have a critical big turn the followings because your opponent has to overcommit to deal with the Talos since it's a bunch of 5 of pain, T7, 7 wound bodies. And then they gained +1 weapon skill, +1 ballistic skill. Yep. So in Reaper's Wager, they're rerolling once to hit, and then they're also hitting more efficiently than previously, and then they're twin linked as well. That's just a really efficient package, and it's something that can actually survive on objectives and force that overcommitment where the Dark Lances gain a lot more value because your opponent, if they're not committing actual weapons to kill these Talos, then you're just sitting on the objective surviving.
Reaper's Wager seems very good. I mean, army-wide reroll ones to hit on an army that doesn't have very many rerolls, right? Especially it used to be an army that was full rerolls to hit, and then Reaper's Wager was like, fine. But, man, they upped the data sheets, and then they took away all the rerolls, and Reaper's Wager's like, I'm still here.
I'm just efficient, and boy, is it.
Yeah, and then if you find, like, I know Skari was running the Void Weavers, he was running one with Lone Op 18 that could shoot without getting shot, again, kind of a sub-theme. I know someone else who likes the Harlequin bricks, Cody Giroux, out of the Midwest. He was running that, I think he still is. He was running that. He'd run it around the board and just brain people with reroll ones to hit and wound and pistols and then fight on death and Lone Op 18 off of the Shadow Seer and all that.
The interesting thing about the Harlequin brick is because almost always Drukhari are going to be winning the wager, which means Drukhari units get the reroll ones. The losing wager, which is Harlequins, get the reroll ones to hit, ones to wound. So, and this is what Sako's been doing as well, is use the webway enhancement to rapid them in, use the advance, shoot, and charge strat. So drive them deep into people, blow up whatever you can with the pistols, and then get into the content. So like if your opponent has, let's say Karn and some Berserkers, not a good example because you have the Disembark, but although shooting them would actually be pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, so if you run up to Karn and Berserkers and they get out, you're like, okay, and then you just charge them.
But like any combat unit in a transport, normally that's pretty annoying because you're not Dark Lancing the stuff behind a wall. But now you can go ahead and attack that, blow it up with the fusion pistols. The unit's now on the table. You charge it, you kill it, you consolidate into some other stuff, and then you'll have a 3-up fight on death because you'll be losing the wager when your opponent attacks you. You could potentially be -1 to hit as well to make it annoying.
It seemed pretty darn good, honestly.
And that's just a lot of bodies. It's 4-up invuln, so it can be annoying to get through. And then
because they're losing the wager most of the time, you have, as I said, fight on death on a 3.
Yep.
And then because you have fight on death on a 3 with reroll ones hit and wound, and all the Harlequin troop needs is rerolls, and that's what they don't get in Eldar. I will say that they get 0 rerolls.
Because you can pick +1 to wound on them, and like +1 to wound, 5 attacks per model. You get the reroll ones to hit, ones to wound, dev wounds. It adds up.
It's a lot, and then they fight on death and kill you. They go in and they kill themselves, like they kill something themselves, and then they die, and then they fight on death. So it's an interesting unit for sure. A lot of Harlequin units just want them rerolls, man. They just want them rerolls.
They kill for reroll. I mean, that's like the game. Rerolls just make everything better, as the Fire Dragon man would say.
Dude, there's a reason I take 20 of them, man. They kill things.
Now, one of the detachments that I'm excited to personally see is going to be, besides the Spectacle of Spite, is the Cartel, Cabalite Cartel, where you pick something for your contract, and then you can actually get access to like sustained or lethals against various targets for your Blades for Hire. So it's going to be like your Incubi and Drazar. It's going to be your Scourge units, your Mandrakes. So you can actually really ramp up the damage of the army against those type of targets very, very quickly. And it's one of the best attachments for gaining a lot of pain tokens at a single point. As soon as you finish the contract, you gain the extra pain tokens. You can use the strat to pick a new contract on a different unit. And you can be really tailored for dealing with what your opponent has access to. I think it's one that when I first read the rules, I was like, this seems like a decent amount of hoops to jump through. I'm not sure. And then the more I think about it, the more I like having, even though it's not an army-wide buff necessarily, because you'll have some amount of units that aren't Blades for Hire, it's still a really good buff for what you're trying to do.
I was pretty impressed with it, because that's the one that Scary played into me. And first off, the picking a contract thing is so complicatedly written that figuring out how it actually works is quite difficult. They also have the first contract you can pick is the one you will never, ever in a billion years
it's the worst
pick.
one by far.
Worst one by far. It's the only one where it only buffs you against one target instead of all the targets. I don't know why they led with that. It definitely created the false impression that they all only applied to the one target you were choosing, but whatever, that's not where I tripped up. I thought you were basically like, as soon as you killed the target, it's like, oops, sorry, no more contract. But no, contract completes in your command phase, and then you just have a free stratting Archon back there being like, and he picks a new contract for free, basically, because it's free strat, and strat targets your warlord, so, right? And then he was just rolling. He was rolling in the pain tokens. He did a pain token spread down his arm, man. He was just like, so many pain tokens. We literally stopped keeping track, because he was at like 10.
Yeah, and if you have a Chronos for the 4-up regen, it's like...
He didn't have a Chronos, man. He just had a ridiculous number of them. So we stopped keeping... I asked him to stop keeping track of shit. I'm like, it's fine. You have as many pain tokens as you want. It's okay. It's all right. Fine. And then army-wide lethal or sustained, and then crit 5s against the one target you really want to get lethal or sustained 5s against is very nice. And it just had a good suite of strats, and it just worked. Right? It just worked. Karn and 10 and 8 guys at that point was the only unit left alive on the center objective, but it just worked. Yeah. So I was very impressed with that, honestly. And you do literally just roll in the pain tokens, my man.
And you need them because a lot of the pain token abilities are extremely good. And it means that you're not as strat reliant as some, previously you were with Drukhari with some of the detachments, but you are pain token reliant. However, there are more ways in this book to guarantee have them. Obviously, you get your command phase one. Real Space Raiders starts with additional ones, depending on which units you take. In the contract one, you get the contract, you get additional ones. There's also Homunculus in the Covens unit. You'll be running them, so you can potentially get an additional one on a 4-up. So there are more ways to generate them rather than simply your Chronos has to be near all the stuff and hopefully get them back for you. Because that was kind of hoping and praying and hoping you killed stuff. There are times where you do want to just do a staging turn. You want to do a nice contest play, keep your units alive, not really overcommit to anything. If you're not gaining pain tokens in the turn, but you're expecting to do a big turn the follow-up, well, you still need the pain tokens. You need to find a way to get them. Yeah. And it's not that easy to force too many battle shocks to do that.
Yeah. Getting one of your command phases is so nice. So nice. I want to call out Folger Piles in the chat here. Well done, making third at LVO.
Yeah,
great
congratulations,
work.
Folger.
Great work. We went back and forth the entire weekend between Moggen Ra and a second unit of 10 Fire Dragons. So I want to say Moggen Ra is a bum. He's a bum. He can't even kill 5 interceptors. He's a little bum. Okay, he's just the worst. Imagine taking Moggen Ra.
Nick's gonna bust in here and defend Moggen
Ra.
Nah,
he cut Moggen Ra, bro.
he cut
Moggen Ra.
Oh, Moggen.
If Nick cuts Moggen Ra, that should tell you something, right? If Moggen Ra has no haters, then I am dead.
There's another good question in here. What do you mean when you say Harlequin Brick? Great question. So that is going to be in Reaper's Wager specifically, where you can ally in those Harlequin units, is going to be 12 Harlequin troop, a 12 model troop unit. And then what I have typically seen is grabbing the Shadow Seer so that the unit itself is 18-inch alone up. So it can wrap it into an open space and then advance, shoot, and charge on the following turn with the stratagem. And you bring the enhancement, I think it's Webway something. I'm forgetting what the second part of the word is, but it's something Webway. and that gives you access to deep strike on the unit. So it's instead of being stuck rapid ingressing on the flank, you can rapid ingress directly into the center and go deeper on your opponent. So that's the unit. Typically, you're going to have 4 of the neuro pistols and then 4 fusion pistols. So you shoots at a decent amount, and then its combat is just a volume of attacks with 5 attacks each, dev wounds. It's only strength 3 AP 1, but with +1 to wound as from their datasheet rule, it can start to add up.
Yeah, because 90% of your army is Drukhari and not Harlequins, you will almost always have reroll 1s to hit and wound up on the Harlequins. And then they can kill something and give reroll 1s to hit and wound to a Drukhari unit, which is actually really neat. Right? Like you shoot their pistols, you kill something, and then you have your Scourges get reroll 1s to wound until eventually they kill something, and then the Harlequins charge in and get reroll 1s to hit and wound. And it's neat. It's neat. It's nice to have one Harlequin unit that can hit. Yeah. Right? Skari had the Solitaire, and unfortunately he forgot his rules. It didn't matter. It was in the Shadow Round where that game was not particularly close. But his opponent ran forward a Serpent with Fire Dragons in it. They got out of the Serpent, and Skari did a reactive move on the Solitaire, who was currently losing the wager, and rolled and got a 2. When it's flat 6, Skari.
When you're losing the wager. Yeah, I mean, on the Harlequin break, that's also quite annoying. You can just... Your opponent moves, you go behind the terrain feature, so now they can't shoot the unit away. They have to charge it. Then you 3-up fight on death on them.
Yep, that's a lot of CP, but sometimes it's worth it.
There's a lot of trickery in this army. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it didn't particularly matter. Skari did win that game by a lot, I will say. It did involve Drazar and his cronies in a Venom, rapid ingressing turn 2, 9 inches away from his opponent's home objective.
Yikes.
That's not good. That's bad. So,
when Drazar gets your home objective, you're having a bad time.
It's bad. It's not good from there. He terraformed his home objective on the following turn as well, because the boat ran in, touched the objective, started burning it, or started terraforming it, which you can't unterraform your home objective, by the way, because there's no unterraforming an objective. There's only terraforming it to you, and you can't terraform.
Yeah, you can't target your own home objective.
Exactly. So he ran the boat on. He started terraforming it. Drazar went in and scrubbed that objective clean, and then hopped back in the boat. And it was bad. It was really bad.
Hey, Skari. So Skari is in the chat here, and once again, excellent performance at LVO. We were really rooting for you there. You had honestly an amazing showing with the Drukhari, and we're all excited to see what you do with the Codex, and had a great time having you here at the house, getting to play all those games and recording all those videos with you. So, like I said, if you haven't checked out the tier list as well as the Codex review that Skari and I did, definitely check it out. They're very, very good videos, I think.
No, Skari just doesn't need all his rules. That's what
he doesn't need them.
He doesn't need them.
You got to tone him down. He tones himself down. He tones his non-Drukhari units down.
That's right. He's like, surely this can't be very good. It's not Drukhari.
Any other anecdotes from the old LVO?
Oh, it was kind of a whir. Skari and Ben had a really good game. It came really close.
That was on stream.
Yes. Skari did have the best single most big brain moment, which we've actually made a short on. I noticed it popped up in our feed. It popped up in my feed, and I was like, oh, that's me. Skari had the single most big brain moment of the entire event, wherein he needed to prevent a Big Knight from moving 13 inches onto his expansion objective. Mm-hmm. The Big Knight was going to be in combat, and so it couldn't shoot. It couldn't fall back and shoot or charge, but it could just walk onto the objective. So what he did was he moved his... First off, he said, ooh, that's tricksy. I like tricks. Tricks aren't for kids. They're for me. And then he ran the Solitaire to be 12.1 inches away from the Knight. So the Knight couldn't stay in combat and kill the Solitaire. But if the Knight fell back, it couldn't land on the objective because the Solitaire was preventing it. It was so cool. It was so cool. I think there's a short on our channel about it.
Yeah, I believe Nick James created that one. So, yep. Now, one of the detachments I haven't mentioned, and my favorite units personally in Drukhari are the Coven units. So I'm a huge fan of Talos, which I already mentioned, but the Covenite detachment, the Covenite Coterie, another Coterie here.
There's a lot of coteries.
There's a lot of coteries out there. And that's the one where I was most looking forward to see what they've done with Coven. And I have not gotten to put it on the table yet because we're getting our Talos redone a little bit. They were kind of falling apart, getting them fixed up. But it's the one where if strength is greater, you get -1 to wound for your Coven units. You have a Master Regenerist to heal back 3 plus D3 racks, and they're 2 wounds now a piece. You can have one that gives his unit +1 toughness, and then there's a variety of other stratagems you can use. Like there's a cool mortal one and various other abilities. But really, you're paying mostly for that defense on the Coven units. Like two basic Chronos on an objective with -1 to wound access is just a bear to deal with, and you get access to, I believe, Armor Contempt as well in this detachment. You can just put out a 110-point unit and just say, how much are you realistically willing to interact with this? So I've been experimenting with 3 units of 2 Talos, 3 units of 2 Chronos, 2 rack bricks with 2 of the Homoculi, because they have that heal back, so you can just stick out on the objective, force your opponent to have to stand there, and then bring in like Drazar and some Incubi or Lilith and her witches to kill them, get back into your Venom. That's a style that I don't think is going to be quite as good as the top detachments here, but it's one I still think if you're a Coven fan is going to be playable. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to get that on the table. I know a lot of people in the Drukhari chat want to see that one.
It's really missing grotesques.
It's really missing a
really
couple more,
quite bad.
Urian, just a couple more data sheets that do things, a couple more like different types of trade resources. But I will definitely get it on stream at some point once we get those models back. So if you are excited about that, don't worry, I will get it on. We got a couple super chats here. We've got Mr. Jonathan Haynes, who has $2 Canadian super chat. Hey, Siegs and John, that's Jack. You got Jack.
I don't know why people mix this up all the time. I really don't, but it happens constantly.
Especially Jonathan, who watches every video.
It happens all the time. Like, I'm not even joking. This happens all the time. People confuse me and John. You're like, oh my God, John's commentating LVO. No, he isn't.
That's the old Jack.
Yep.
We got Redrum here with the €2 super chat. Thank you so much. Wow, is that 40k esports moderator Jack Harpster? I assume that's referring to something at War Games Live.
I think that's just me commentating.
You're just an esports moderator?
I'm an esports moderator.
Did you have to do moderating at LVO?
I had to crack some heads.
Did you?
Oh, yeah. I had to get some people in line. The game between Nemo or Wesley and Folger was actually very interesting, I think. I think you should go watch. That was a very close game, actually, even though...
This is the finals.
No, this was the semis.
Oh, the semis, yeah. This is the semis.
We unfortunately did not cast the finals.
Yeah.
It was
the final stream
Yes.
on War Games Live.
Yes, it was the final stream on War Games Live. Well, he did a John McCardle and him played a game. So that was fun. I think Joe's Spaceballs rolled over John's stuff.
John, no, come on.
Yeah. So that was a very interesting game. I think it was very close, and I think, kills me. I think if Folger deployed on the line and just ripped it, I think he would have won that game. And I think he believes that too, which is why I'm saying it. It's just, I mean, Wesley won the event. He played very well, but that game was so close. It also, there was an Overwatch that may have been impactful a little bit. Jane Czar's unit rocks forward 17 inches, ready to go charge and like get deeper and possibly start blocking some stuff off, right? Possibly some reserves or whatever. And Wesley has 2 flamers, like 2 Catachan. They have 2 flamers. They're not heavy flamers. They're not Catachan flamers. They're just flamers. Boxcars to hits. Cool. 9 wounds. And then Folger fails 6 save CP rerolls into a failed save and loses the whole unit minus Jane Czar. That's okay. Jane Czar can go do whatever she needs to do. She can't actually charge if she's not attached to a unit. And the chat was just full of like, oh my God, what a throw by Folger, not turning off Overwatch there. It's like, yeah, I'm going to take -3 to charge because 0.5% of the time, right? Like, I'm not going to go +3 to move because 0.5% of the time I get Overwatch and lose the unit. It's like, no, you just take the Overwatch. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that Wesley went for it. Obviously, it worked. But most of the time, it's like spend a CP to kill like 2 models that don't matter.
Well, I think it's from his perspective. The upside is if he kills enough of these banshees, the problem won't be that serious. But if he doesn't kill any banshees, it's actually genuinely a serious problem.
Yeah, it could be. But he went for it, and he did in fact kill the whole unit. And Jane Czar was stuck sitting there, and then got meltagunned in the face the following turn. Just actually died to the last shot allocated to her, which was kind of crazy.
All right, so we've got Redrum here with a €5 super chat. Thank you so much. It looks like Drukhari is like Votann, where a lot of things change, but the army is a bit harder to play well than before. I would agree with that. I think because every datasheet has a pain token ability and then 1 or 2 datasheet abilities, what you have to, and then a lot of the profiles changed. Their AP changed, strength of weapons changed, damage changed here and there. So because a lot of profiles and then actual datasheet rules changed, there's a lot to rememorize about the army. So even for experienced Drukhari players, it's going to take a little bit to get back in the swing of things. But on top of that, making sure that you're sequencing which ability to use when, since they have different timings, and then being able to master your command point economy, your pain token economy, and then your resource management with having 17, 18 plus units. That's not the easiest thing to do. I definitely think Drukhari is one of the harder armies to play in the game. Yeah. I think they are easier to play than Votann, but I would agree that the changes in the Codex make the army more difficult to play in a way that's rewarding for player skill, which is exactly what you really want.
No, it seems like an interestingly designed book. I'm going to have to look at it at some point in detail and really, really go through.
Then we have Jonathan Haynes. Thank you so much for your 2 Canadian super chat. WTF, I just woke up for a second Jack. Sorry. He knows you're Jack. He knows. But he likes calling you John. The disrespect. Ricky Chow with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Ricky, hear me out, Jack. Spectacle of Spite, the Witch Cult detachment, has a lot of small token units that can go wide. White, I assume that's a Magic reference, controls the board and dictates opponent actions blue and goes big splashy aggro red. Sounds Jeskai.
I don't usually play Jeskai. I just played Jeskai controlled that one event because it could beat VV. But, thank you for the pitch. It also has creatures, which is kind of green if you think about it, and then it kills you, which is black. So if you think about it, it's 5 color control.
Maximum color. Though that fits with witches too.
Yeah.
They like being colorful. So that looks to be all the different super chats here. So to give a kind of summary, I think personally, so John and I did the tier list a couple weeks ago, the overall wide kind of like game-wide faction tier list, and we ranked Index Drukhari in B tier. Somewhere like decently in B tier, like just a good army right now. And that's kind of what B tier stands for. And where I think they're headed is probably, from what I have seen, probably upper B to lower A, honestly. I think a lot of people have been down on the Codex and down on, mostly on losing, the Beastmaster pack, Urian, the Court of the Archon, stuff that was essential to the old Drukhari game plan. And I personally think Drukhari has plenty of replacements for those things. Urian is, the most unique tool, but there's other things you can put in there, and it's going to be completely fine. So for the things that they lost, I think they gained a lot in this book. I think this book is even stronger than previously, and I think the overall Drukhari meta is going to be more diverse than it was previously, where we almost started to exclusively see Reaper's Wager. I think Reaper's Wager will remain to be the most popular way, but I think there's a lot more stylistic detachments that are also very strong. If we're looking at some of the top armies right now, they have their really strong kind of meta builds, and then they also offer a counter meta style, a lot of them. And so I think Drukhari can do exactly that, as offer the main Drukhari style, but also have some off the wall things most opponents won't be prepared for because they're going to be used to playing against Reaper's Wager. And I think the differences within Reaper's Wager, whether you go for Harlequins or not, whether you go for a lot of extra combat units, whether you go for more scoring trash, whether you go for Talos or not, is going to still make the list play differently than they would otherwise. So I'm pretty darn excited for Drukhari myself. I'm going to be playing them here when Skari is not in town. And we'll be having an LGT Finals rematch with me playing Sako's Drukhari list updated for the Codex versus Nick playing Liam's Chaos Space Marines. And that game will be coming out next Wednesday. So if you want to see a little bit of a rematch, grudge match thing, we're going to be putting that on stream for you.
It's a super interesting game.
Yeah, 100%. So Sako gave me some coaching advice, so hopefully I can put that into practice and prove him right and do well. We got a couple more super chats here before we sign off. We got John Apocalypse with a £5 super chat. Started getting back into AdMech. Man, Electro Priest with Manipulus, full rerolls, crit 5s are insane. So he's talking about the Corpus Scari Electro Priest. These are the shooty guys. They can pop out of a Dune Rider. Call can pick a target, so they'll get full rerolls to hit. The Manipulus gives them lethals. They're natively 3 attacks each. It's sustained 2. And if you're in the Protector Protocol, they'll hit on 2s. So hitting on 2s, full rerolls to hit. The transport hits the target first. You shoot the Corpus Scari, they get reroll wounds. So now every 5 or 6 to hit, and you're going to fish for it, you're going to reroll every die to try and get more 5s and 6s, is a lethal hit and 2 additional hits. The 2 additional hits and all those hits you're going to reroll wounds with. And, the AP is the main problem with the Corpus Scari, and it's relatively short range, so the Manipulus often wants to take the enhancement for plus 6-inch range, so they go from 12 to 18. But the unit itself will also be able to hit somebody in combat. So you can drop out, shoot something to death, and then charge and pop the same strat, crit 5s, to hit pretty decently hard in combat as well. You just jazz hands all over the place. You don't get the reroll wounds in combat. It only works in the shooting phase. But still, that unit's pretty nasty. It is a almost 300-point package, so there are a lot of things you can get for 300 points in AdMech. But it is a lot stronger than it was previously with Call, everything is stronger with Call now.
Yeah, give him the Palpatine. Zap.
Yep. And then Mr. Redrum here with a €5 super chat. Thank you so much. Now that all codexes are out, what's your least and most favorite? And usually codexes that come later in the edition tend to be better written. I would say that is not necessarily true. I think Votann and Drukhari are. Knights, I can't really say.
Grey Knights and Black Templars
did not get the love that they needed. Like, they have very good builds. That's not the issue. They have very competitive builds. They are both very good armies right now. But the diversity of their detachments in the Codex is not ideal.
Also, there's
and some of their data sheets are just garbage.
A way that you can be, solid and competitive without actually being super interesting.
Diverse, yeah.
Yeah. But my least favorite codex, do you know what my least favorite codex is?
Custodes?
Oh, yeah. Big time.
That's not even...
Big time.
Not a surprise.
No, it would be like if they released the AdMech Codex, back when they released the AdMech Codex, and they never updated a lot of the data sheets, right? They changed bikes, and bikes are still booty cheeks. And then they didn't change, every so often a character will go down 10 points. Where's my complete rewrite of how my book works?
Yeah, get wrecked, Jack.
Yeah, no, it's cool. They'll just keep sitting on the shelf. It's fine. It's cool. I didn't want to actually play the army.
They won Worlds last year.
Yeah, cool, awesome. That book sucks.
They won Worlds last year. The Warden data sheet is crazy.
I joked to Folger that he should take Custodes this year, and he laughed at me in my face. All right, just saying. But World Eaters, though, that's probably my favorite codex of the edition.
That's your favorite?
Yeah, I think so. It's pretty cool.
The AdMech Codex, as written, is by far my least favorite. It's just a pile of garbage. There's literally a whole page of data slate rules and an huge FAQ entry to try and fix what that mess was. That's my least favorite, of course. And then my favorite Codex, it's a good question. I think Necrons was the best written Codex that of the armies that I play. I think there's 2 detachments that really don't see much play, but the other detachments, and then Star Shatter added in, I think Necrons have the most diverse play styles, and they've had the most balance and treatment towards balance of their data sheets, I would say. There's been a lot of different styles for Necron. Literally, you started with Canoptic Court, then you went to Hypercrypt, and then you played Star Shatter, and then Awaken. Awaken was the original Index one, and then was also still very good. You can play a lot of stuff with Necrons, whatever you like. I think more so than most armies. I think that's probably the best designed.
Yeah, Necrons and Eldar are kind of holding hands as we're always good army.
Yeah, they've just been good the whole time. They haven't been, and they were oppressive at times, but oppressive in the context of other oppressive armies, being able to counter them. Necrons never stood as the only army at the top, whereas Eldar definitely did. During the Index.
Yeah.
But Necrons was the hardest matchup for them. The Infinite Healing Warriors.
You know what's funny is that every so often people who either didn't play a lot at the start of 10th or who didn't really know very much about the start of 10th competitively will be like, oh man, I want to see a match on stream between two titans of the game. on release Death Guard and start of 10th edition Eldar. And start of 10th edition Eldar is just like so much better than anything that has ever been released in 10th edition. Possibly, 9th edition was kind of crazy towards the end. But anything else that has been released, no, it's better than anything that's released in 9th edition. Oh my God, holy crap. That it wouldn't even, people just don't understand. And people just don't understand. It was just funny. Every
Army
time I see
shoots
that,
death
like,
wounds at you.
yeah, it's
That
like,
spillover.
you know what? Yeah, you play the Death Guard. You play on release Death. You play that, buddy. Yeah, that's broken. Sure. And then I'll play on release Eldar. Just shooting like 40 mortals out of line of sight. Just on Overwatch or whatever. So good. But
the dark times.
degenerate. I did not play them back then.
No. And that looks to be all the different super chats. So hopefully everybody enjoyed this live stream. If you do have any questions for us, definitely let us know in the comments below, as well as kind of if you're a Drukhari fan, what are you feeling? What are you most excited to play? I think there's more diversity in this book than people originally gave it credit first reading the rules, including myself. I thought it was going to be more of like a 2 or 3 detachment book, and honestly, I could see 4 or 5. Having played more of the army. So I'm excited for it. I want to know what you're excited about. Give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends about us. All of that massively helps us grow. In addition, if you want to see more content related to Drukhari, check out The Worm at theworm.vhx.tv. There's a 3-day free trial, and on top of that, you get access to some of the videos that Scary produced when he was here, including multiple battle reports and post-game analyses. And you also join our Discord community, where Scary is he's ever present in that Drukhari channel.
Everywhere. He's all around us. He suffuses through us and around us.
He is the Vect. He's the daddy Archon. You don't mess with him. So, but he's in there in that chat talking Drukhari constantly. So if you want a great place to kind of talk about new ideas and flesh out your own ideas, it's one of the best places on the internet to do that. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Appreciate your support. And we will see you all soon for more content. So long for now.
Bye-bye.